are maybe an hour if we yeah, maybe an hour, all things get maximum of an hour, all things being equal. Thank you again for joining for me. You were at our last conversation for the where we were trying to recruit influencers and connectors who were going to help with reaching out to their communities to advocate for the Student Week project. And again, we are excited that we are able to talk to your students on what the Student Week project is all about. Um, when we conceptualize this particular product or this platform, this may be, it is a platform, it was apparent to us that we needed to do something with the teeming population of the youth demographic in Africa. Um, of course, because it was apparent that population explosion was also, you know, just down the pipeline. When you look at statistics around the world, it's said um, and postulated that uh, 20, 2030 into the next couple of decades, Africa is going to command more than a quarter of the population of the world. And 70% of this quarter are going to be within the youth demography. And I mean, and again, when you look at the uh, childbearing rates in Africa, you will see that, yeah, even though, with the upper class or middle class into upper class, childbirth rate has kind of become marginal. Um, the lower class still have bear children at a very high rate. So all of that is just to say that population explosion is apparent. There's no way we're taking it to. And when you think about what happens when a child is born, you begin to first of all deal with social issues around how is that child going to be fed? How is that child going to be educated? Right? Shelter, quality of life, quality of education. That's where you begin to see the reality of the challenge for educating a child. Because therein, a family can have 4 kids and they will all need to be educated and even have more than that. And you can begin to see the pressure on education. So what do we want to do really so that the preamble is not long? Uh, for a start to take off on this concept, we would want to organize, or we have planned to organize, the biggest student convention in Africa. Um, One of the things that's also very prevalent in today's uh, social economic space, if I can use that, is that you can see the rise of knowledge propagation, knowledge expansion. And that is a very good sign because, again, when you look into the history of the European civilization, you realize that there was the age of Renaissance where the spread of knowledge was very much and the spread of invention and innovation, had happened. And that was the age that it was precipitating into the industrialization of the Western economy. That was the age, the Renaissance age was just before industrialization. In fact, it was the catalyst that gave birth to industrialization because before you begin to do, you must know. So everywhere you go to today, or almost everywhere you turn, there is a vlog, there is a blog, there's a podcast, there is a conference. In fact, I think last year I was like, the whole of Lagos is full of conferences, I was talking to some of my team members, and I was like, how does the governor of Lagos State have time to do anything else apart from attend conferences? But there's a good side to that, because the push of this knowledge is going to create some form of ripple effect in doing things, because people are going to know better ways to do things. People are going to be exposed to opportunities. People are going to be able to connect and bridge and build bridges that they can now use to create a catalytic effect in whatever field or sphere of influence that they play. And that is one thing that we are very, excited about, and we want to connect with the Student Week project. So, to simplify, what we want to do for a start is we would organize and hold yearly largest student convention in Africa. When you look around Africa again, you will realize that almost homogeneous groups of industries are spoken for. The architects have their thing, the almost most professionals, associations, and bodies have a thing going on for them. They have their conference. They have that unified platform where they can push the boundary of knowledge of their industry. They can, bring conversation to the fore and shift thinking or reconstruct perception, for however, the largest group of people, uh, the youths, the student, the learning community, do not have that homogeneity, if we can call it that, where they can, first of all, be seen and be heard. So there are fragments of solutions everywhere. So people are building silos, building platforms for, tech, building platforms for internships, building platforms for educating the people that are less privileged. There's so many fantastic solutions out there. However, we believe that the work that the Student Week project is going to do is to begin to weave a massive fabric of inclusion, collaboration, homogeneity with all of this, categories or solutions that people are building. I wouldn't want to call them fragmented solutions, but they are solutions addressing different sides, of the divide, or the educational sector, if I can do that. And whatever you educate a generation, you will definitely see payoff when that generation comes into maturities, right? So there are many other parts to the Student Week project, like the Learning Man Fellowship, which is typically what you say most people, a fellowship program is a fellowship program, because then um, you can draft people from whatever eligibility status, draft them into specialized programs, uh, give them certain projects to work on. These projects can be social impact projects, they can be profit making projects, they can be company based industry project, they can just be even human capacity development project as a means of CSR, giving back, making sure that people attaining to that level of economic dependence, by equipping them with knowledge and then allowing them to go and thrive, knowing fully well that when they do that, they will eventually be able to contribute better to the society. And I mean, that's a side of the Student Week project, which is the Learning Man Fellowship, very robust side. There's the artisan economy side. I mean, if you look at the problems today, hardly would you go to an artisan, especially in the Southwest. I think the Southeastern apprenticeship model still works, but it's not working as well as it was created in those days, and that's why you see that there's a bit of disparity between the population of the population that are educated in the Southwest and Southeast, and and the North. And that's also to speak to say that the educational need of every geopolitical zone is different. The educational need of Southwesterners are different from the educational need of the Southerners and the Southeasterners and the North Centrals and all of that. So we want to be able to create, solutions that are able to penetrate into all of these regions, yet still be one, right? In making sure that at the end of the road, maybe not at the end of the road, but as we progress as a nation, you can point to a thinning population of youth who either belong to some form of apprenticeship program, who's gone through some form of artisan training or vocational training, who's gone to not just university for theoretical knowledge now, but can develop a skill, and not just tech skills. I also see that, you know, that agenda, that tech agenda, that it's almost like majority of the solutions that are developed out there today are tech skills. You know, we have a 3 million technical talents. We have a lot of digital and tech skills. However, Africa is begging for industrialization. Africa is begging to be developed. And you can't develop. I mean, we're gonna get the tech skills. Yeah, we're gonna, you know, export our talents across the globe. We're gonna earn in all types of currencies, right? You know, the whole point is to, you know, solve the problem. But back home, we're gonna have to develop human capacity for us to even be able to solve that problem. We're going to have to fix our cultural apathy towards education. We're going to have to fix the erosion of values, right? Where people think that education is scam. You know, school is not scam. School is calm because school has not been properly incentivized, and there's no pathway that if I get into an educational system and I can work my way through, if I can put in the work, I can get out on the other end and be able to meet my needs. You have graduates who are looking for jobs, and of course, when people who are going to get into the system see all of that, you have graduates who cannot access credit. You know, you graduate from a university, you want to buy a laptop of 2 million naira. You have to do so much. You know, you have to work and save and all of that. What happens to, you know, extending the student loan facility, you know, extending it out so that you get a job, you're able to pay back your student loan, you're able to extend your credit, and that credit can mean something to you. You can extend it to your mortgage. That's how the system works out there. But all of that means that you must be well captured when it comes to, you know, your data, taxes, you know, and all of that. So that, you know, we can also curb the brain drain problem, right? So one problem of perception leads to another problem of immigration, leads to another problem of, you know, data, you know, student data, leads to another problem of incentivizing the educational system, saying that, oh, people are not incentivized. People don't, you know, you go to school, you score a 5.0 GPA, nobody sees you, nobody knows you, you're full of talent, there's no platform for you to express. So really, we want to make sure that we design a very robust platform for the teeming youth and the learning population to be able to express themselves, to be able to showcase the innovations that they are able to come up with. They are thinking, not just innovations. You can write up a concept paper, you can come and present it at the Student Week convention, and we will begin to bring in opportunities from private sectors who can listen, who can see the direction that the student population is thinking, who can directly invest in that space, right? I think a couple of days ago, I was looking at the video of a state university, and thankfully it's been done. It's content. The Imo State University was really, I think the guy went to Ife almost immediately after, and the disparity was just too glaring. But guess what? Something like that, you know, is done. And that's the solution. That's what I'm saying. Fragmented solution. So there's somebody doing that, but where's the platform? So if all the alumni of Imo State University were to come together to fix that school, to say, okay, we're going to put down an endowment fund for infrastructure development for Imo State, there is actually no platform, right? So they have to create that pathway. They have to create that pipeline. So they've seen the problem. Somebody has, you know, what's the word now? Somebody has, exposed the problem. Now, we need to do a solution. We need to, you know, aggregate solution. But where's the channel? So imagine if that video was shown at the Student Week convention and the alumni, association, they are the body of university lecturers or NUG and we can create a super pathway between the alumni association to say, okay, this amount of money is going to flow into this investment portfolio. The dividend is going to be used to fix this school within this time frame, and that solves the problem. And that's exactly what the Student Week project is trying to do. create platforms that can reach different phases of educational challenges, and then fix it. Let's not talk about curricular reviews and curricular reforms. Let's talk about institutional reforms, right? So these particular issues are what the Student Week project is supposed to, cater for and solve, right? But the exciting space to start is the convention, right? So let's bring everybody together in a room. Let's be excited. Let's throw some fun in, and let's talk. Let's talk about educational reforms. Let's talk about institutional reforms. Let's talk about entertainment, arts. Let's talk about inventions and innovations. Let's talk about climate change and circular economy. Let's talk about national development, civic responsibilities, leadership. Simulation of leadership roles, Senate, talking debate policies. We don't just want to have another debate competitions. Let's debate policies. So what's government doing? What bill has passed? Let somebody oppose the bill, and let somebody support the bill. Real life situations, bills that are present in the House of Assemblies and the House of the Senate. Let them be discussed from the perspective of the students, so they understand what it means to govern, to lead. So when it's time to vote, they're not going to stay in their houses, because they were right there when these bills were being discussed. They know who is. You can't do that without doing research, right? So, but let's start with a convention. Let's bring everybody to the table to have a conversation, around the activities of making sure that the student community and their minds are well developed, right? So that's exactly what the student the student week project is supposed to do, and then we dovetail into the Learning Man Fellowship and everything else that comes with it. So I think I've been able to. So we have a deck. The pillars are there. I think I've talked about it: the government, the enterprise, the nation, Intel, Earth, and Spark. Of course, there's going to be, of course, a lot of talent and scouting, bringing music producers in the room, allowing student talents to be able to do one or two things. And then you can, like you say again, create those opportunities. You don't have to finish school if you're a talented person and wait till somebody connects you with Olamide. It's trying to use Ashake's model now. Ashake was lucky to find somebody to connect him to Olamide for him to imagine if that discovery was never done. But imagine if there's a platform where every year talents can come in and just showcase. So after the sessions in the morning, maybe 4 to 7 outside, you have people doing different talents. There are scouts there, just like you scout for football, where they scout and they're like, this guy, let's connect, let's talk. What's your grade like? Yeah, we can't sign you up if you don't finish with a 2-1. That's the first thing you have to do. Just like you have, sporting scholarships all around the world. They come with academic, eligibility also. So all of these things, are the things that we believe that this platform is going to do at this time, and it's going to create a catalytic effect for the educational sector to be able to position as the engine for industrialization and national development, right? So, yeah, that's about it. That's a lot of that's a lot of pros from here. But I mean, this is not supposed to be something just about the team. So we need a robust team. We need ambassadors in all universities who are going to be gathering student data, who's doing well in school, who's a first class student, which innovation is the rave of the moment. Imagine having that teaming network around universities across not just Nigeria now, but across Africa, and having a real-time data of what student communities or the learning communities are doing now. Not just tertiary institutions, you're doing that across board. You're doing that for vocational training institutes. You're going to states where they don't have vocational training institutes, and you're talking to their governors and building bridges to make sure that there's a thriving artisan economy that can also be formalized, to make sure that government has more money to do more social work, to make the lives of people better. So we see a trajectory, because whoever is 20-year-old today is going to be 40 in 20 years' time. As long as you're alive, you're going to grow. And the best we can do is to make sure that we capture you early, contribute to the economic development as much as you can, so that there's that symbiotic relationship. We capture you, we train you, we make sure you're contributing, so that you don't have to run away. You don't have to run and keep, going to develop someone else's land. And there's nothing, going abroad. That's why I use the word runaway. There's nothing traveling. There's nothing wrong with traveling. There's nothing wrong with seeking exposure and new opportunities. There's nothing wrong with earning everywhere else. But when you do that, you must have a connection back to where you're coming from, right? When you look at all the countries, the richer countries that have been able to break out of poverty and get into that developmental state, it started from the thinking. How the people back home, look at China, look at what India did with its educational sector before it exported all that tech talent. And for me, that's the huge disconnect between the solutions we are building and what we think it's going to do for the general population, because we're building solutions that is adequately going to equip the individual. But what about the community? What about the collective? Right? So that thinking of patriotism, that thinking of social first, us first, before we go think about, okay, you know what, we're going to go conquer the US or wherever in the world we're going to go, because we're thriving, we're doing amazing work. But imagine all the medical doctors doing amazing work in the United States, and almost very minimal. It's not like no contribution, very minimal contribution back home. Not just in terms of remittances of funds now, but in terms of knowledge, exposure. That pipeline is what will build. So when we are able to unearth you from the student community or the student convention level, even when you do travel, because you will travel, opportunities are now global. You will, but you're going to have a connection back to your root. Whether you're coming back as a mentor, as a speaker, or whatever in that group, you're able to do that. So typically that's what the student project is about. We like to hear from people to see what they thought about in terms of, it's really deep, it's deeper, there's a whole different parts to it that can really become something, a very huge African catalyst for development. And we're excited. This is the maiden edition. It's happening October 13th to 15th. We're looking for sponsors. Oh my God. We're looking for sponsors to be able to make sure that this happens. We want it to be the biggest African student convention. So imagine having, for the first maiden edition, 6,000 to 10,000 students within a space discussing about the type of knowledge that they're being taught in school. How is it relevant? Your sociology course, how does it apply to Africa? A lot of people, how does it apply to today's geopolitics, international relations? How do we bridge the build? Where are our philosophers? Where are the next, category, the next generations of philosophers? Where are the next generations of writers? Not just a handful, not just a Chimamanda in the whole, not just a Chinua Achebe, and then Chimamanda, and then a Wole Soyinka. We're talking about a community of people who have been able to reach their goal, their talent, because they had a platform to express themselves, and they were able to do exceeding with what that platform was able to offer to them. I can go on and begin to open it up. So what we want to do is between 13th and 15th of October 2025 at Elbow Point, we're going to host the student community. We believe that it's going to be a life-changing moment, and that's what we're going to do yearly. So the student convention will happen once within a week, and then the Learning Man Fellowship will happen within the year. So all of the things that we're able to achieve within the year will be showcased during the week. It's going to be a week of fun, engagement, knowledge sharing, thought leadership, action-oriented conversation. It's going to be a week where we're able to push the boundaries of education to, let's have this conversation of education, niche education at the national level, right? We're looking at a situation where the convention will be held on digital television, and we can get into the mind space of the policymakers who we need to make the right policies for education, lobby the people that we need to lobby. I mean, look at the recent news we had during the week. First, the age for tertiary institution is now 16, and then cutoff mark. You just, the standards are being reduced. And of course, when you hear the thinking of the people that made that, because what we've been able to find out is that we saw the information, we saw the policy, we didn't see the thinking, right? So where's the thinking? that was behind it. So imagine something like this. Bam, we just document it, and I think we will. It's going to be part of the thing we're going to discuss about and the forthcoming, as a policy, discussion, or a policy debate. Why reduce the standard? Right? Is it that people are no longer learning, or you want to, or there's a segment? You can look at the data and just realize that, oh my God, we are edging out the northerners, or we are edging out the southwesterners. Let me not be stereotypical now. We're edging out the southeasterners. Look at them thing, they are never scoring 200. Look at the demographics of the people that are always scoring 200 and above. They are from this particular region. If we don't do anything about this, we're going to have a generation of an educated region. And that's not good for the nation. So if that is the problem, instead of reducing the standard to be able to give them an inclusive, opportunity, why not target real development for education in that space? And this is where you need private sector. Government cannot now say, okay, because we want to isolate, or because we want to amplify development in a particular region, we will not focus on any other region, or we will just carry all our budget and put it there. No, that's where private sector comes in. That's where people that have started up and develop and become something from that region and say, okay, you know what, we're going to step in and make sure that we bridge this gap and don't reduce the standard, we'll catch up and all of that. And I think it's been done before. And Anambra at the time had a problem like that. And during Peter Obi's, it kind of turned out the educational, I think he had some form of educational medal on his laurels and stuff, so yeah, that's generally it. I talked about when the convention is holding, what's going to look like. We need sponsors. We want to believe that everybody that is on this call are first level. So next week, we're also going to have another webinar. We're going to focus on another target group of people. That might be physical. Yeah, we're going to also be broadcasting it, but we will all be in the studio. We'll have conversations with, the people in the learning communities, students from polytechnics, students from universities, vocational training institutions, ask them what the issues are, what they think, they've learned, and how they can, participate in what is going on. What are the reforms that they would like to see with, maybe institutions or education, talent, workforce activation, and all of that. And then we'll go ahead to do the one for Research and Development Institute, private sector, alumni association, as many as we can before we saw. And all of that is just going to be a build up. We're also going to be recruiting ambassadors for different universities. So if you're on this call and you are a university student and you want to be an ambassador, we're going to be recruiting. These ambassadors will be, responsible to collect data for us. And this data will be synthesized and harmonized, and we can use them to make informed or create insights that we can now spread to decision makers across. But so yeah, that's about it. There's going to be more information coming out at the time. I think that I'm going to open up the floor now for people to ask questions, to contribute if there are any contributions you want to make, or there's clarifications you need based on what I've said. This is the time. Thank you very much for listening to me. So you're welcome on board to the Student Week project, the biggest student convention in Africa. And we're excited at the opportunities that this has for everyone. And we hope that we're able to make something amazingly proud and for Africa out of this. So yeah, that's it. I'm open to take questions and cues at this time. Thank you very much. Anybody with a question?
Thank you very much, sir, for, as usual, for dissecting and giving us like very in-depth knowledge on this project. Um, I guess we have Fumi and Odun on this call. I'm trying to confirm. Yeah, Fumi and Odun on the call.
Yeah.
Guys, do you have any questions? Do you need any clarifications whatsoever on on everything that has been discussed. I know that for me, the last time we were on a call together, you asked your questions and then like you still got your clarifications, but then, you know, if there's anything that has been said recently that it's not quite clear, or you need more information on, you can ask.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, this built on